What's up? Just want to make sure all my audio and video and all that good stuff is working. Let's see. Turn my camera. This is all kind of a test for my celebration stream on Wednesday, which is coming out. I'm just making sure the audio is working. Seems like it is. That's good. I have an upcoming video on this topic, but I just want to spend. If I was gonna test my live stream, I might as well make it worth it. So, I had an interesting thought the other day. I saw some good videos. If you haven't watched Frightbox recording, he's a great channel. You should check out his stuff. But just how prevalent the idea that we need all these new plugins, right? Or the fact that it just seems like there's a new amp sim that comes out every 3 minutes. And is this helping or hurting music? And I was just thinking about that because I talk about plugins on my channel all the time. I talk about BiasFX2, right? I mean, I was talking about free plugins last week or the other week, right? So plugins are important. I'm not saying plugins aren't important. And I think it's cool that we have new technology that comes out. I don't have any problem with that. I'm adjusting my camera here. I want everything to look good for the big live stream. But I was thinking about if this is actually helping the creative process or not, or is this just getting in the way? And is there a middle ground maybe that we could have somewhere in there? So I was thinking about all these issues, and if you guys catch this live stream later, let me know if it's a hindrance or something good for you or what. But I found that there's a certain level of quality with a plugin that its usefulness has actually helped increase the creativity. And then there's a point where it's just like flavoring at that point. And I'm trying to decide where that is exactly. But I think where it's bothering me the most, this will probably hurt any sponsorship deals like in the future. But look, like I said, I don't have any problem. People who make plugin companies, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing morally wrong with that. Like bringing something to the market and people purchase it, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's purchased, it's worth what it costs and it's needed. But I just want to talk about like how good does an amp sim need to be for there to not need to be any more amp sims is kind of the point, right? And can we actually get to then recording music? And I think this is just what bothers me with music YouTube in general, making music YouTube in general, is it kind of stops becoming about how to make your music and how to write better songs and get a better final product, and just how much time can we spend fumbling around with the toys. That's what kind of annoys me, and I fall into this trap all the freaking time. Okay, I'm the worst, actually. I think I actually am the worst at this, so don't worry, I'm not accusing you, actually accusing myself, because I've spent hours and hours fumbling around Superior Drummer 3 trying to get a drum sample to sound exactly like a drum sample I heard. Or I literally do tone matches, right, which are just insane amounts of time and insane amounts of just neurotic focus on matching tones. So like I'm also the worst at this as well. But I can also say I've personally released 7 albums of music. So yes, I neurotically mess with the tools, but I also have the drive and the foresight and knowledge to create my own stuff as well and not let it get too in the way. But I wonder how many bedroom musicians, or I don't even like that term, home studio, whatever, you know who I'm talking about, right? I mean, this is kind of a studio, but it's also a home studio. What a studio is kind of changing these days. Weirdly enough, there's less of the big studios, which I think is kind of sad, which maybe should be a separate video. But if you're in a do-it-yourself studio environment, and there's a lot of those people out there. I mean, you guys watch my channel, they watch other channels. How much time did they spend looking at new plugins, messing with a new plugin, think about buying a new plugin, compared to songwriting and recording and creating? I wonder what the ratio is. I actually do. For me, I try to at least keep it half. Now I run this channel, so some of my time has to be reviewing plugins. That's just kind of the way it is, and explaining the tools. So that's just kind of part of what I do. But if I get into a point where I'm just spending too much time messing around with stuff, and I'm like, all right, you need to stop and actually like do what you're supposed. The whole point of this is making music, and I guess if you just it's fun for you and you blow off steam by just buying new amp sims and messing around with them for an hour on Friday night, that's no problem. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I think most people get into this home recording thing because they want to create a piece of art that other people can hear, and they want to get rid of the middleman of the studio or whatever, or the middleman of, having to have a full band or whatever the limitation was. You had an idea in your head. You had a reason you want to get. You didn't get into home recording because you liked cool plugins, because you thought plugin interfaces were cool. Like maybe a couple people do that, and they're programmers and they're interested in that. But you didn't get into this. I didn't know what any of this was. All I knew was I have a cool idea for a song, and I need to figure out how to actually, make it work, make it possible. I think that's where everyone starts. And so remembering that starting point, I think, is super critical. But I think we really get lost along the way in that journey, like very quickly. Marketing throws at us that, you just need our plugins and then everything will be fine. You'll never have to think about, recording things well, or all the skills that go into creating a good song. Like, just buy our stuff. That's kind of the vision that they want to put forward, because they want entry-level people to think they need XYZ tools. I've explained a million times that you don't need paid tools to get good sound. Are paid tools cool? Yeah, absolutely. I love paid tools, but you don't need them to get the sound you want. So you enter this space, and then everyone's like throwing stuff. You need to buy all this stuff, and then even the channels that are teaching you these things, amazing channels that teach you how to do this recording thing, they're being paid by these companies, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying that's bad. There's probably a point in the future where I'll be in that situation, because these people need to make a living too. So none of this is bad, but I'm just explaining the way these things are. And so now they're paid to promote the products, which are good products. They're amazing products. I mean, the plugins have come so far. I started doing this in 2015. I was a teenager, and in 2015 I started doing this, and the tools were fine. They weren't bad. I could still use the tools from 2015, but they've gotten so much better, which is crazy to think about. So much easier to use, so much lighter. Computers have gotten better to a point where they can handle almost anything. So when you get into it, and like I said, now the tools are so good, and you get these tools thrown at you, you think that it's the tool that's the problem. And there's a baseline, right? There's a baseline of, that's why I tell you, use the good free plugins, get these good free plugins, right? So there's a baseline for the tools that you need. You can't just use literally anything. That's also wrong, right? You can use literally any microphone. I mean, come on now. There is a threshold of quality that I do endorse. It's low. I mean, it's low. I use most of my recordings where I do match the sound. I use my MXL. I don't have it with me, but it's an $89 mic, literally $89. It sounds so good. I mean, that's how low the threshold we're talking here. Focusrite interface, $100, or it was $100. Now it's $150, but that's what the threshold is at now. Amp sims, free, good sounding amp sims. I've bought amp sims, and it's just the guitar player in me. I like having fun crap to play with. It has nothing to do with recording quality. For me, it ties a little bit into the channel, because I'm trying to get specific sounds, and sometimes you need specific colors to get specific sounds. But to create your own music, you just probably need free stuff, honestly. For sure. Drums, one thing, I think the drums have come a super long ways, and I think that has been beneficial to the songwriting process. Now, Easy Drummer 2 existed when I started. It was $125, pretty reasonable, I think. I couldn't even afford it back then. But free drum resources were not that great, I would say, a decade ago in the recording. Now it's like, I did that video on the ML SoundLab kit. I mean, that's incredible. A drum kit. Free. I would kill to have that 8 years ago when I started. The only thing that was out there was like the MT Power Drummer kit, which is what I used, if anyone remembers that. I mean, it was free. I'm not going to bag on it, but like that's what was out there until I finally got, I think Superior Drummer 2 was on sale one Black Friday, and I got it for like $89 or something. That's what I had for a long time. made a ton of records with that, got good with it. Superior Drummer 3, I think it's just kind of like the pinnacle of drum production at this point. I know people are going to mention other drum libraries, but in terms of being able to do all the things you need to do, I think Superior Drummer 3 has it all. So major progress has been made there, but Bias FX existed in 2015. I mean, Amplitude existed, Pod Farm existed. They were used on records. They sounded fine. No one listening, no normie fan of music listening could tell the difference between an Amplitude plugin in 2015 and a regular guitar tone. Maybe you could. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a shootout on that sometime. Maybe I could. I'm so freaking weird that I've spent so much time listening to the amp sims and matching stuff that like maybe at this point I could figure out. But I don't think I'd have a 100 batting average or 1,000 batting average. It'd probably be closer to 500, right? And so I think the point is you get all this stuff thrown at you and you think the tool. And so this is why the title of this video is kind of not clickbaity, but it's kind of throwing a question out there in a way. And I don't think it's the fault of these companies. They're allowed to market. They're allowed to sell products. I believe that. But I think you as the consumer just need to remember that, I mean, one, I agree, there's nothing wrong with buying tools. You want to buy tools, go for it. But you need to remember why you got into this in the first place. And I think for 90% of you, it's you want to make something fun. You want to write something. You want to create something. You want to create art. I think you should spend more of your time creating art and less time monkeying around. And I'm the worst. I am the worst. Okay, I'm talking to myself right now because I'm the guilty as charged. Oh my gosh. I mean, I run a channel where I monkey with stuff basically. So, but I have things like Match the Sound, which is it's covers, but it's recording. It's creation. I'm creating art. I'm creating a version of something, right? I've released 7 albums. I've made over 100 songs and released them out to the world. So I have paid my dues in terms of the creating my own art as well. But if you haven't released a song yet, not one song, and you've been monkeying around in this recording thing for like a couple of years, and you're just kind of buying stuff here or there, I would recommend let's maybe put the brakes on a little bit and make something. Even if it's not 100% what you want it to sound or you think it should sound like. I made records in the past. There's problems sonically with those records, but I learned so much. And it's that learning process is way more valuable than anything you're going to buy in a tool. That's really reality. The only way you learn is by doing. And so if you want to learn how to monkey in tools better, then monkey in tools better. But if you want to learn how to do this music making thing, monkeying in tools is like such a small portion of it. So I don't think it's these companies' fault, but just consider for this video what your goal was when you started out doing this. Was it to create art? Okay, and then is your studio time spent working towards that goal? And if it's not, evaluate why and maybe the influences causing that. And like I said, if you see a cool plugin, you can afford it, you want it, that's fine. But also remember where your time should be spent in terms of making art. Because in the end, the only thing that lasts is the art. No one's going to remember any of these plugins 30 years from now. I guarantee that. I mean, there's going to be new versions. There's going to be new companies. There's going to be new things. Yeah, some will probably live on, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit. But no one's going to remember, you monkeying around in XYZ plugin for 7 hours and then making nothing of it. If you monkeying around those things to then create something, I think it's completely different. But someone may remember 30 years from now, you're like, hey, I have a WAV file of a track I recorded. This is a song I recorded. Let's pull it up, right? I think that's way cooler. There's songs I released 6-7 years ago. I'll go back to those, but I won't go back to Bias FX1 or something crazy like that. Kidding me? So anyways, that's a quick rant on that. This is a live stream test. Seems like it went well. I'll see you all Wednesday for the 1,000 subscriber celebration. It's going to be good stuff. I'm super excited about it. Thanks for helping me get to 1,000 subs. We'll go over all that when we get to the live stream. But thank you guys for watching if you tuned in. And tune in Wednesday. That's when the live stream is for 1,000 subs. We're going to have a good time there. Ask some questions. We're just going to hang out. We're just going to have fun, celebrate what the channel's done. We got to take some time to celebrate, right? I'm usually in go mode. I want to just keep creating, but 1,000's a big deal. I think you're in the top 10% of YouTube channels, and compared to what you see at 1,000 subs, you're like, yeah, is it really that big? And it's like, I worked pretty hard to get there. So and the channel's really taken off like the last 3 months. So the goal for me is 10,000 by next year, but let's see if we can get it done. I think syncing the audio would probably help as well. Anyways, all right, I'm logging off. See you guys Wednesday.